Hello, Aries. This is your extended reading. So I'm really glad to see the cards that are here and the message that is popping up, because I feel like there is restoration of the heart. There is this sense of trusting again in your ability to love and to trust and to be kind and to offer your kindness and your compassion without being triggered by any sort of disillusion, or maybe distrust, or even some sort of sneaky energy that could be a threat to you, right? Which is good news, right? That, as we said at the end of the first part, with the sun being the last card from your first part, I mean, this is part of the way out, right? Out of this very long, shadowy, and dark tunnel that maybe you have been, just prolonging, and maybe even making it harder, or making it much more stressful or detrimental to you, right? But it's like every tunnel is implies an opening at the end, and the light is there. It's like, remember, the truth that comes, in seeing that light, focusing in that light and nothing else. Especially, it's like, yes, you were trying to run from yourself, run from your own shadow, and that was just making it grow and grow and grow. But somehow, in moving out of the duality and going back to just unity, and it's like seeing yourself as the sun, seeing yourself as, just, I'm hearing abundant as the sun, cheerful as the sun, joyful as the sun. It's like becoming the sun, right? Becoming this light that you're heading towards. This is actually going to give you a whole new perspective, and this includes also looking at your own shadow, looking at your own beliefs, your own thoughts, your own things that maybe you have been avoiding, right? That we saw with the first card in the first reading, in the first part, that was talking about this shadow that you cannot escape from. And at the same time, well, here, because we're starting with the Two of Wands, usually the twos to me, which is really, really, really interesting, because if we're talking about moving on from duality into unity, right? The two starting here, your extended, is also talking about allow that to dismantle your point of view, or your fresh new perspective. Because it's like, okay, so what I heard with this card was seeing a new horizon. It's almost like getting at the end of the tunnel and, becoming the sun. It's almost like I'm seeing now the possibility of, not even continue walking forward, right? And reaching the end of the tunnel. It's almost like by becoming the light, it's like you are bringing the sun closer, right? And you're bringing the sun closer because it's like you are, it's like, yes, you are, it's like with the light and the warmth from the sun, is like here, the ones, right, is fire, so it's also light, but it's also heat. It's like, this is the way to dissolve, this is the way to make this, very maybe negative, emotional state that you are, to be evaporated, all of those negative emotions to be evaporated, right? And allow you to have a new horizon, have a new perspective, or see a new path. That is actually what you're building, right? In seeing this new path, it's like you are, it's like through duality, right? You are moving to unity. But this includes, in a way, it's like to see this new light, to bring the sun to where you are and become this light. and let go of, you know, all of the ways that you were trying to escape yourself. There, maybe because a long time has passed between the origin or the cause of this emotional and mental state that you are right now, right? Maybe because you don't even really remember what went down or what happened. It's like you're just stuck with the memory of how you felt, right? Maybe feeling like you were left behind, or like you were like some sort of very negative emotional sense of stagnancy, right? It's like you're locked into that time frame, but just emotionally, right? So revisiting that emotion, right? Because also, you know, this Six of Cups talks about like there's in longing to go back to that phase of your life, to that moment, to that situation, to that relationship. It's like in revisiting that, you have the chance not only to relive the emotions, right? Because maybe that is what you remember the most, so that is what you're going to find first, but it's also going to like make you go through all of the shadow that was created afterwards, and that is what you're confronting and going back to that situation, right? And I don't feel like it's something that is, because as I said, it's like it's like trusting the universe, right? It's like trusting the universe that this is going to happen, like in your, it's not your physical body that is going to experience that, although, you know, the consequences of it, like they are definitely going to happen physically, but it happens like most mentally and even spiritually or like emotionally, right? It's like that body that you carry, right? That is making you like, it's almost like this very tight clothes, right? So it's almost like this emotional body is making you feel compressed, right? Because you're growing, but that emotional body is not compatible, right? So with the Seven of Swords, the World, and Judgment, there is a really incredible image coming through these three cards. It's almost like they are a combo, but you have to go in phases because it's like it would be too impactful or it would be too overwhelming, Aries, if suddenly somebody said to you, you have to destroy your past, or you have to destroy your world, or you have to destroy all of your belief systems, right? It would be too much, right? And it would be something that it would make you feel like even more cornered. So it would not be helpful. That is the reason why I feel like it's almost like setting the stage, right? This magician is preparing you to receive the tools that will allow you to get to that ultimate point, right? Which is necessary for you to overcome this situation, right? And move past it. But there is this sense of not suspense, but like mystery and like creating some sort of like expectation, but a good expectation, right? Because it's almost like now you don't hold the weight on your shoulder of, you know, trying to find a way out. It's almost like just watch and see what unfolds. So here with the Seven of Swords, it's like this is the first step, right? We saw that we initiated with the Eight of Swords. So this was a clear path that was, you know, following you around wherever you went. With this Seven of Swords, it's like when you do become the sun and you bring the sun closer to you, it's almost like you are throwing like a beam of light over yourself, right? And this is, you know, allowing all, it's almost like halt, right? Just stop on your tracks, see this light, focus on it, and allow it to like come to you, right? You are the light. And now something really interesting just came through. Like when this light comes to you, because you're just so like distrusting of of your heart, or maybe your capacity to, you know, allow to like speak through your heart, or like allow your heart to express naturally and spontaneously. It's like this light will restore this heart, right? Especially because the Queen of Cups is coming next. So, but before we get to the Queen, it has to be like, instead of allowing this to follow you wherever you are, right, as like an extensive path forward, like do not, like, instead of, you know, move one step closer to the edge or whatever, like, do not, like, stop where you are, Aries. See this new horizon coming from within you, right? It's like all of the doubts are going to surround you because they are within you, and if you move, they move with you, right? So just stop and see how these beliefs are just energetically, you know, hovering over you and just creating this density, this mental fog, and creating your perspective of the world, which, you know, could be seen as an incredible multifaceted sphere, or it could be seen as a prison. And this is this shift in perspective. And because you're seeing it as some sort of shadow that cannot be cut away from you, right? It's like it's becoming like some sort of like cage, or like something that is not comfortable at all, right? It's just restrictive and like giving you the sense of like no space at all, right? So here, when this judgment came through, it was so funny because the way that I saw it, Aries, it was almost like this, like here it is. So here you begin to see, because now you stopped running from yourself, right? That all of this is coming from you, right? And this is creating your world view, or the way that your world, your immediate world, is manifesting in your life, right? So with the tools, it's almost like I'm seeing these as, you know, those tools when I don't know, how do you crack a nut or something like that. I'm seeing some sort of like, if this is really big and important, and like you have this realization that you let this grow to the point that it's become crystallized, or it's become some sort of like eternal truth, that, you know, your world is like that and it can never change because, you know, of whatever reason, you know, maybe the reasons are here. It's like, when you receive the tools to make this go away, it's almost like I can see the difference in scale of your initial perception of, you know, the bigness of your world, but then how this perception of the world, because it was being polluted or influenced by these negative thoughts that you have been carrying, right? The longer you move ahead, it's like the bigger they get, right? So the more structure they create your world. So when you see the tools, it's like the perspective of your world like really diminishes. It's like the way that you perceive what you have created, and I want to say like maybe unconsciously, right? Or like consciously but unconsciously, of how it was impacting your worldview. The tools were putting in perspective this thing, this world, if it makes sense. So this world turned into like a nutcrack, or actually the way that I saw it was like, you know, those Christmas decoration like balls, right? Tiny balls that you hang on the tree in Christmas time. It's like, this is it, right? This is just a tiny little decorative element, right? And it can be changed. It can be like smashed. Actually, this hammer is like, the tools that you're receiving is talking about like what you, it's almost like the instructions are coming with the tools. And it's like, it's implied here that like you have to put this ball like over this plaque here and smash it with the hammer, right? So this destruction of this worldview that was conditioned by these negative thoughts, right? So here is where it becomes really interesting, because it's like, yes, I'm sensing that at some point this will not be too overwhelming. So yes, you will allow yourself to, well, I would say deconstruct your worldview, right? And because we have these two pentacle cards, surrounding the Queen of Cups, well, I'm going to talk firstly because this Queen of Cups is connected to the restoration of the heart of the the King of Cups. Sorry. So when this queen came through Aries, it was talking about like your opportunity to trust again in your heart and to express the truth of your heart without feeling like you would, if you had the sense of maturity or authority of just knowingness, right, back then, and all of these things unfolded later on, right, past that event, it's almost like you're questioning the validity or the like how much you can trust yourself. And this is where this perception comes through. It's like destroying the doubts that were surrounding you, and that was like really putting you in this position of not believing in yourself, like not believing that you can let your heart speak truthfully, right? So because we have the 6 and the 9 of Pentacles, this is almost like a time to ponder, a time to like allow yourself to see the pieces that you have just smashed with the hammer, right? It's like the universe is handing you the tools to put in perspective your worldview, or the worldview that you have created based upon doubts after some sort of situation happened and negatively impacted your emotional body, right? And since then you have been carrying this like a shadow that follows you wherever you are. And so this is really profound actually, Aries, because I'm seeing it as like, do not make it so complicated. It's like with the 6 of Pentacles, you're being given like the tools. So this is the gift from the universe. It's coming through as enough, not to be, yes, it can be seen as overwhelming, especially because we're talking about 2 major arcanas. But if we think of something that like allows you to see this from another angle, like in another type of scale and size, it's like, it's really something that you're able to chew on, right? And ponder and see, and not overcomplicate or not overthink, right? Because this 6 of Pentacles is talking about like the pieces that now, like as you smash this, up, it's like you can now see each one of the pieces that were like containing you, that were making you feel the restriction, or making you feel like this competition of, yourself and your shadow, right? Who would win? Who would take over this space completely? And so seeing, it's almost like, here are the steps out of this restriction, of this confinement, right? If you were just, going from one corner to another, it's like, and not seeing a way out, this is exactly the way out, right? And when it comes to this point that you were able to see every single piece in a unpolluted or uninfluenced kind of way, because these things are no longer there, right? They're gone with this, like, it's almost like they evaporate, right? When you smash this worldview, it's like they evaporate, because it's like they have no, it's almost like they're so like mentally imposed that when you allow this thing to die completely or to be destroyed to the ground, it's like, it's like it moves, right? It evaporates, and what you're left with is like the facts, right? Or the practical things that were part of that memory, right? Not polluted maybe by how your emotions interpreted, or like how your emotions left an imprint of what happened. So this is like in your hands now. It's almost like the move has to come from you, right? They have given, like the universe has given you what you needed and what you were asking for, and now you're the one to give back. But really, it's not give back to the universe, it's give back to yourself, right? Because of the Queen of Cups. So giving back to yourself, it's like putting back the pieces. If you have all of the pieces, right, really scattered over this table because you allowed it to be crushed down, it's like you can see everything from this higher perspective, and this is going to allow to like put all of the pieces back together in a way that brings restoration of the heart. This is actually what I heard with the Queen of Cups, restoring the heart. You are restoring the heart. And from then on, with the Nine of Pentacles, yes, there is a sense of security in self. There is a sense of like believing in and trusting your independent self. And that comes from like knowing that the path that you are now paving, yes, it contains pieces and facts and practical things, right, that were once part of how you shaped your world, or how you allowed yourself to see your world, or how you have created your world based upon those old beliefs, if it makes sense. So with the Nine of Pentacles, it's like yes, you have the Six Pentacles that are here, but with this new perspective, with this new horizon that is based upon like this knowingness that you carry the truth when you are, you know, traveling this path with oneness in your heart, because like you are the light. So it's like really, it's like, I'm going to say something, but it can be a little bit like controversial, because it's like being the sun, being the source of light. It's like when you shoot your light over other people or other things, right, it's like these things will create shadow, but the shadow is not in you. So like be careful with that, because it's like just, it's not like hold back your light, because you know the sun, it's just impossible to hold back, you know, the sun's light. So just know that, because that is part of the truth too. So with the Nine of Pentacles, it's like you will have, it's like this is the continuation of the tunnel that you were traveling over, but in the dark, like in the shadow, right? Not just having like a tiny little spot of light at the end, but when you brought the sun back to you, it's like now you can see, because you don't need a lantern or a flashlight. It's like you are the source of light that is illuminating and guiding you forward along this tunnel, right? And it's almost like you can see a new horizon beyond that tunnel, because now it's like you are the illumination that you were asking for. Does it make sense? I feel like, you know, just to end this with the card at the bottom of the deck, which is the Chariot, which talks about moving on, right? But moving on in a way that you feel secure with yourself, but also like you know that you have become the sun. So it's like there's no way to turn off your light, if it makes sense. So, and this is the way that you're traveling now. Let's see what the astrological runes have to say about this message, Aries. This is so interesting. I feel like, you know, to be honest, this may have been one of the most empowering readings, I feel like, to me. Maybe recently, but, you know, yeah. Okay, anyway. So let's see. Okay, 2 runes. So this is interesting. So we have here Mercury and we have midheaven. But actually, it was interesting because when I saw this MC, which corresponds to midheaven in Portuguese, meio do céu, actually I saw it as Mercury retrograde, which what day is today? No, it's the 1st. So on the 3rd of June, Mercury is going to go direct in Taurus, which is so interesting because I feel like somehow like this, like speaking the truth of your heart has been maybe the challenge of these past weeks, right? Because of Mercury retrograde. So much more than the message of midheaven here from this rune, it's actually talking about the period of retrograde, which, you know, in astrology, retrograde is just, that's the thing. Retrograde is just a sort of perspective from Earth, right? None of the planets go actually like backwards. It's just impossible. It's like, it's impossible. It's just like trying to turn off the light of the sun. It's impossible, right? It's just our perspective, our very, very restrictive perspective of Earth. And so when we're given the tools, the higher tools from the universe, this is when we put into balance and, you know, put in the same, you know, comparative, you know, comparing the scales of like importance of things that you were giving much more importance than it needed, right? So here is like to the period of moving on from this Mercury retrograde, which ends on the 3rd. So because there is a loud thing right now, I'm going to end this video here. I hope this was insightful for you, Aries. It was really like very illuminating to me. So I hope this was helpful to you, and I'll see you next time. Okay, bye.